Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I am your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking a lot about a lot of Xbox news, but more importantly, I think, folks, because it's the hot topic of the day, the one that literally has broken the internet and everyone is talking about it. So, thanks to Pong Soul's suggestion, we're going to jump right into it after the introductions. Folks, we're going to be talking about some Scalebound news. Once again, the dragon that never dies comes back. And listen, PlatinumGames is basically begging for this game to be made, and we're going to break down exactly what that means and if it's even worth a conversation. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I really liked what I saw. I understand that maybe they need to do a couple of design changes, and the guy with the headphones that seemed like like a punk kid riding a dragon may or may not be your thing, but it was different. And it was from Platinum. And you know what? To be honest with you, it was a shame that that game got canned. Personally, I would love to see it come back, especially under the tutelage of Phil Spencer, who would be leading the conversation here. But before we get into that, let's get into the introductions. And folks, we got the whole crew back with us today. Everyone is here. And we'll start first with Pong Soul. Pong, what's going on, brother? Welcome back.
It's amazing to be back. I always miss my Tuesdays when I got to do the real life stuff.
Boo for real life.
Yeah, boo for real life, boo for making money, boo for paying bills. Screw all that. I'd rather just talk video games all day with you brothers. That's for dang sure. So no, great to be here, Boom. Yeah, so we actually have a week here where it's kind of a normal news week. So we are definitely going to dive into some topics. Nothing earth-shattering this week for once, but it is going to be fun. I am happy to be here. Chat, you all are looking amazing this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. So let's get down to business, because the zombie of Scalebound keeps rising from the grave.
Indeed.
And it's kind of a fun topic. So let's do it.
You know what? Believe it or not, one of my most anticipated topics of today is celebrating Phil Spencer and his big announcement that he is getting this monster award, a Lifetime Achievement Award, at the D.I.C.E 25th anniversary show. I don't think there's another leader in gaming that deserves this award this year. I think that when you look back at where he started, folks, if you didn't know, he was an intern, and now he is the head of Microsoft Gaming. Go talk about going from rags to riches, so to speak. And I'm very interested to talk about what Phil's done to get this award, and the fact that he is now being spotlighted for it. I think it's incredibly important, considering that at some point, Pong, Microsoft almost kicked the bucket when it came to Xbox, and literally Phil and his ideology of where the brand could go snatched it from the jaws of defeat. Pretty interesting.
Very interesting. And again, this is well-deserved. Steele and I actually talked about this on Living Split Screen on Saturday. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Boom. I can't wait to dive into it a little bit, because Phil is extremely deserving of this award for everything that he's done, not just for Xbox, but for the industry as a whole.
Important.
That's the big thing. So yeah, that's going to be a fun topic as well, sir.
Yep. Listen, Boxenberger, welcome back. You dropped an awesome video yesterday. As a matter of fact,
thank you.
We're going to be talking about that, not only through, to get people to go check out the video, but we're going to be talking about the context of that video. And folks, when it's broken down as clear as glass as it was during his upload yesterday, man, Microsoft has a ton of games in development, and some of which we don't even know. So it just goes to show you that the whole mantra of Xbox has no games is a long dead discussion. And it is going to come to a point where, damn, Microsoft has too many games, because I can't seem to get through all of them. Boxenberger, welcome back, brother.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. Just like Pong, I miss my brothers if I can't make it here on Tuesdays. But life sometimes comes in the way. So, but we are back. The band is back together, and even though we have no earth-shaking news, there's still a lot of stuff going on in the video game industry, and we are going to talk about it. So I can't wait.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's great to have you back, brother. And yeah, I can't wait to get into them. Mav, man, how the heck are you? How you feeling? And welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's great to be back. I feel like it's been forever. Super happy. We got the full squad here, minus 3-bit if he ever decides to show back up. One day. One day.
He's modeling, brother. That guy's in Hawaii
Modeling.
modeling, brother. I understand
He's
all
playing
about
with
it.
ducks and lizards right now. I guarantee you. That's what he's doing. But hey, this is gonna be fun, man. This Scalebound thing will never die. It's insane. I just can't believe it. So we're gonna have some fun talk today about a lot of awesome stuff, and I'm looking forward to do it with all of you amazing people. And hello, chat. How are you doing?
Well, listen, it's great to have you back. And yes, the chat is on fire already. And last and in no way least, Mr. Joanna Dark, newest member of the Xbox Factor podcast. Welcome back to the program, brother. How are you? How you feeling?
Happy Tuesday. I'm good. Rise from your grave. Will Phil Spencer be the father of dragons and bring back Scalebound? So that's exciting.
Ooh, that's a good title name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's well, I mean, look, it's we're gonna get into it. Now, normally I don't use IGN's articles, but it happened to be the one that was put into the DM. So I'm gonna give them credit. Speaking with IGN Japan, Platinum President at Sasushi Aneba explained that Scalebound creator Hideki Kayama was talking about wanting to bring this IP back, and this is something he's been talking about with the heads of PlatinumGames for quite a while, according to the report. Now, Kamiya himself did tweet directly at Phil Spencer once again, and this is something that's becoming an ongoing thing. And he says this, and I quote, "I'd like to appeal to Phil Spencer directly. Let's do it, Phil." Now, look, according to the article, Inaba made it clear that this isn't an idle wish, but they'd like to reopen talks with Microsoft about the idea of bringing Scalebound back to the Xbox as an exclusive. And this was a direct quote from that IGN Japan interview. And he says this, folks: often in an interview, you might hear a developer politely saying, yes, if we had the opportunity, we'd love to work on that again. But we don't mean it that way. Both Kayama and I are serious. We really would love to work on Scalebound once again. I'd like to discuss it with Microsoft properly. Now, he goes on to say development had progressed a fair way, and it seems pointless for Microsoft to just hold on to that if they're not going to do anything with the IP. And again, I reiterate, he says in English, Phil, let's do it together. Pong, look, this is one of those things that will just not go away.
No.
And I'm happy to talk about it because, quite frankly, as I said in the opening of today's show, I think Scalebound is a very interesting IP, and it would be a pretty cool story to have that during the Dom Matrix era where this game started. When Phil Spencer took over, they decided that yes, there was enough money had been spent, and the game wasn't going to come to fruition. For you, is this IP that has an incredible legacy, and it's basically vaporware? Do you think that this game, and PlatinumGames for that matter, deserves another shot with Microsoft in making it?
Yeah, we've discussed this here before a little bit back in the day when this started popping up again. Again, this is the zombie that just keeps coming back from the grave. For me personally, yes. I think it is something that you should revisit. I've said in the past that I think that Xbox should work with PlatinumGames again. And if they really, really want to do this, and they really look, when you, as a creator, as he was kind of talking about in that paragraph, if you've created something and it was an original IP and it was obviously something that, even though it didn't work out, even though we've heard that on that side, they had so many issues working with the Unreal Engine because that's what Microsoft told them to do, and they had no experience in it. And we will never know the full true story. But if they created this new IP, it obviously was something that they loved, because that's what you do when you are creating things. You don't create things per se that you don't like. Sure, there are some people who probably work on games that they don't like, but this was an original idea. And I think that the them wanting to go back to it this bad, that they're out here in the public. And yes, a little bit of this is, of course, business at the end of the day. Microsoft is throwing around a lot of money right now. They're coming back, in spades right now, as far as from where they were last generation. Does all of that have something to do with it? Yes, Xbox is a hot commodity right now. Okay, so of course, from a business standpoint, they want to do this, but also from, I think, a personal standpoint, to be out here, to finally come out in interviews and admit that you had fault in the entire situation after all these years. And I know there's still some people that hold extreme grudges against PlatinumGames, and I understand why. Again, when your favorite, when your favorite box is Xbox, and you have a dev that seemingly stole money in some ways from Xbox, and did not give a finished product that you were looking forward to, I understand why you hold some of that grudge. But at the end of the day, if they want to come back to it this badly, sometimes that motivating factor to prove everybody wrong, to prove to Xbox and Microsoft that you are a worthy dev, and that you are going to finish something that you created, you could wind up with something extremely special out of it. You could get Platinum's best. And we know with Platinum's best, you get one fantastic game. And so for me, I would take the shot. I would pick up the phone and I would talk to them. Now, obviously, any new contract would come with a ton of disclaimers and clauses in there, right? And this would be like, as much as we talk about how Phil and his team are hands off with creators, this one would be a little bit more handsy. Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely would be keeping an eye on it and where we're going. But if they think about it, what we saw, and again, I understand the idea, the concept, and what we saw isn't for everybody, right? I like the Eastern flavor. So I like some of that craziness. I like some of that headphone wearing dudes riding dragons, right? I'm cool with that. Not everybody is. But at the end of the day, when you look at what they could bring, this could be a fantastic IP, current gen only. They already have much of the time-consuming work done, right? They have all the concept, they have the story, they have all of that, they have a lot of the assets. They could update those, right? And they could bring it current gen only, and you could have a fantastic game come out of this that looks really, really good. Now, we heard it didn't play so well, but that was under the constraints of last gen, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, with the series consoles, they could probably fix a lot of the performance problems that they were having. Again, nothing's guaranteed here. I'm not saying this is an automatic hit, but if you get Platinum's best, then you get that Eastern. Again, Phil's talked about it, right? The Japanese PlatinumGames has a name in Japan for sure.
It's funny. I was actually going to say something in regards to that, Pong. Please take this ball and run with it, because it's very interesting. If there's one area that Microsoft continues to falter, well, they faltered before. Now they're starting to grow. People are starting to buy Xbox. Look on Twitter. Look on your social media feeds. How many of our Asian brethren and sisters out there are posting pictures of their new Xbox Series X and S, right? All the time you're seeing it. And because Xbox is becoming a thing. And you know something? I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to let you take this ball and run with it. If you want to get that audience, you need to have a company like PlatinumGames making an exclusive for that box. And who better, I hate to say this, people may disagree with me, than Platinum.
Right, exactly. And they still carry weight. Why did Nintendo go and buy exclusivity for Bayonetta? Right? Yep. Because PlatinumGames holds weight over there. And so I think that if you let them do this, that is one way back in. Plus, you show good faith. Again, whether it's deserved or not, at the end of the day, you're showing good faith to a Japanese developer, giving them a second chance at redemption. And I love redemption stories. Who does not love a redemption story? So that right there, you send goodwill that way, and you show those devs over there, hey, might have had problems in the past with PlatinumGames, but we're willing to move past it completely and go ahead and allow a dev to come back and work on a game that they had started for us. And I think you can't really put a price on that. Now, it may seem trivial to a lot of people, but in the business world and in that satellite view of things, when you look at the big picture, something small like that could go a long ways in the future towards other relationships over there. And so I think that this is a moment in time. Again, I don't want to make it bigger than it is as well. We've talked about how Scalebound's a dead game, but I think Phil really should sit back and consider the possibilities, the long term, and he's really good at doing that. And I think this is something, again, you take that phone call, and again, there's a lot of caveats to this, right? There's a lot of things that would have to be talked through about how they were going to go about doing this. But at the end of the day, you make this happen, and I think you could really reap the rewards from something like this. A new IP. Everybody's always clamoring for new IPs from an established developer who, yes, has had hits and misses, but when they are on their A game and you get their best, you have some of the greatest titles out there from them. And I think you give it a shot. I just really think it's worth a shot.
You know something? You said something at the end of your spiel there that I think is very interesting. And because they're so passionate, I would imagine that the work that's going to go into this could be legendary.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want to bring Boxenberger into the conversation. Boxenberger at Sushi Inaba says this, and this is pretty interesting. He said, it was a big challenge for PlatinumGames. We were working in an environment we weren't used to. We were developing on Unreal Engine, and we also lacked the necessary know-how to build a game based on the online features that Microsoft wanted. The hurdles we had to overcome were very big. Now, obviously, there are a lot of people in this community, Boxenberger, that feel a type of way because the president of PlatinumGames kind of let Microsoft, more specifically Phil Spencer, kind of take it on the chin. Like he got hit with arrows left and right, and PlatinumGames kind of did this, right? It wasn't until almost a year later where they came out and said, you know something, folks, it wasn't Phil Spencer's fault. It was on us. Now,
and why it wasn't a year? That was 5 years later.
Well, there you go.
They came out 2 months ago or 3 months ago and said that.
Here's my question to you. Okay.
Yeah.
This game it's like one of those games that, even though, look, what's that game that never came out that was based on the RTS? That was an action stealth game back in the N64 the GameCube or the N64 days.
Ghosts from
yes,
Ghosts?
Yes,
StarCraft.
Now, listen, when you talk about StarCraft Ghosts, right? People are still to this day, even after the announcement, that was the first game people were like, "Hey, Microsoft, you want to bring back something?"
I said it.
Well, there you go. There you go. Perfect example.
Yeah.
So it's gonna. See, this is one of those titles, those IPs that invoke a lot of excitement because of what the potential was. And based on what we're hearing, and based on what Pong just finished saying, I honestly believe that this is a game that Platinum wants to make, and they want to do it right. They want to prove to the world that they're worthy of a second chance. Where do you fall in this? It is Scalebound, an IP that could potentially explode in Japan, in a region that Microsoft wants to succeed in.
Yeah, well, I'm a little torn here, to be honest. I didn't think that what they have shown looked too good. It looked fine, but nothing mind-blowing. And the way how they handled the entire thing isn't really what gentlemen do in the business space.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Archimedes, can I add some context to this?
Yeah.
Because Jez weighed in on this on Twitter. So, and Jez does know something. So let me just throw this in there, because somebody threw out a tweet that said reasons why Xbox should reject PlatinumGames' offer to finish Scalebound. They misappropriated funds from MS to finish other games. They let MS carry the public blame for years. Did Scalebound honestly look that good, or we were just hyped for the potential of what it might be? And Jez responded to that tweet and said, number one, about the misappropriated funds, Jez says, was an industry rumor, but have been told now that it wasn't actually true. The real issue was the requirement to use Unreal Engine, which Platinum was unfamiliar with. As far as they let MS carry the public blame for years, Jez said, also not really true. NDAs dictated what they could and couldn't say. And then obviously, as far as did it look good or not.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
That changes the entire narrative, Pong.
Right. I just saw this tweet now. He posted his response about an hour ago, but I just caught it now. And then obviously, as far
great
as
catch, brother.
Yeah,
Great catch.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say about the entire funding and mistreatment thing. I think that is something that is really hard for us gamers to judge, because that's business. And I think this happens more often than we realize, that games don't turn out, and that's why they have these milestones and these clauses in their contracts that they have to reach certain targets, certain goals, so that they can exit. This happens, I think, all the time, and I think this shouldn't really be the reason why we hold a grudge, if you want to. For me, the public blame thing, well, I haven't thought about the NDA thing. That is definitely an interesting argument. Very interesting thing. Could definitely be that there were certain NDA things in place. For me, the thing is, I see why Microsoft would need or want such a game. They need these Japanese kind of games, and having an exclusive Platinum game definitely is a name that we like to hear when we talk about the Xbox portfolio. On the other hand, like I said, I think Scalebound didn't look too great, to be honest. I think it is more of what people wanted the game to be than what it actually is. So if they partner up with a Platinum, I would rather have them make, for instance, a new Nier Automata or something like that. I don't know whether we need really the Scalebound thing. From what they have told us, what the game was supposed to be, it's this open world online RPG. I think we get a lot of those in the Xbox ecosystem. We will get a lot of RPGs. Some of them will feature co-ops, others will be pure single player experiences. I think we get these kind of games from developers that are more established in that respect. And I think Platinum should stick to what they do best, and that is these classic brawler-like RPGs, games like those. So I really don't know whether I want it. Would I play it if they decided to partner up again? Definitely. Of course, I wanted to see what it turns out to be, but I think Xbox has so many other games in the making. I don't really know whether they actually need this. And one last thing, to me, it is a little bit weird to make such a statement on a public interview. If you want to partner up with Xbox, you contact them. To do that through such an interview, that had to me the taste of being a little bit unprofessional. I wouldn't expect any other dev to come out to IGN and ask Phil through an interview of IGN to partner with them. You pick up the phone, you call your people within the company, and you do that behind closed doors, and not like this in public. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of how this entire thing was handled, and so maybe that's why my excitement isn't through the roof.
You know, look, here's the thing. I kind of want to take this and bring this to Mav's doorstep with a different angle. Because here's the thing, okay? Microsoft is currently in a position that they're doing very well here in this region of the world. That's a fact. They're starting to gain ground in Europe, which is great. Obviously, they did fantastic during the 360 era, lost that to PlayStation 4 and Jim Ryan when it was run by him, where it was almost a 6-to-1 ratio, PS4 versus Xbox One, for obvious reasons. Japan has always been a very tough region. I would even dare say it's been it's like no man's land for Microsoft. Right now, currently, they're doing better than they've ever done, right? And PlatinumGames is a legacy studio that has legacy developers still attached to it. Scalebound is an IP that invokes a lot of conversation, whether it be good, bad, or otherwise. It's still invoking conversation, and it's a game that a lot of people want to see come to fruition. Here's something else that's pretty interesting, Mav. Phil Spencer himself has talked and has said publicly that they want to own a Japanese studio in that region. Now, they do have one with Tango Games, but that came with the whole purchase of Bethesda. Wouldn't it just be one of those? Like I said, I'm all about comeback kid stories. Maybe because I'm a simpleton like that. I like seeing something that everyone is poking fun at and was expecting to fail and did fail, come back in a big way and surprise us all. I love stories like that. I watch film like that all the time, and you've heard more times than not that things like this actually happen. What if Scalebound and Microsoft do take a chance, and it turns out to be one of the best second-party games that they make? This is an opportunity to say, hey, listen, this worked out really well. You want to continue Scalebound? How about a purchase? How about Microsoft owns PlatinumGames? I think that's a match made in heaven. That's my personal opinion on it. And, obviously, 5 and 6 and 7 years ago, things were different. Management were different. Things have changed on both companies. Where do you feel? First of all, let's start with the simple question. Does PlatinumGames deserve a second shot at this, Mav?
Okay. All right. So first off, hey, everybody hit that like button for Boom. We got
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
270 some people in here. We got 88 likes. Let's get those.
That's
likes.
absurd. You know what? If we don't get up to 200 likes, I'm pulling the plug. I'm telling you right now. I'm using terror tactics. I see my good friend Josh over at the Den of Nerds. He says that he says it all the time. If we don't get the likes up, I'm turning this bus around. And I agree with him now. This is absurd. Hit the damn like button, folks. All right.
Yeah, it's a little click. Hey, look at that. It just jumped. Look at that.
I love it.
All right, guys. There we go, Boom. You got to assert that authority.
I love it. Thank you.
All right, guys. No, seriously, though. All right. All of this talk about, like, why shouldn't they has always been about these rumors and stuff, right? And even I got a video that's, like, waiting to upload right now. Like, it's just asking the question, should they, right? Should they revive this? Should Phil swallow his pride and say, like, hey, let's go ahead and do this, And all of the cons are all about swallowing your pride, right? And about if all those rumors were true, about misappropriating of funds and all of these things. The realistic thing is none of us really know what happened, right? And none of us really know 100% all of the things that happened, except that the game wasn't being worked on to the satisfaction of Xbox, and the game eventually got canned, right? Yeah. That's all we know to this point, 100%. We do know that, they did come out and they took some of the blame, right? Eventually, blaming a lot of it on the Unreal Engine stuff and all these kind of things, right? So now it's looking at, okay, what are the pros? What are the things we could eventually get out of this? And I think there's just way too much positive for them to not look at it with an open mind, right? Because there's so many opportunities that can develop out of this. It's not like PlatinumGames is a bad developer. Like, even since Scalebound's got canceled, they've made Astral Chain,
which was amazing, by the way.
Nier Automata.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about two games that were really, really highly praised, right? So it's not like you can just say, well, Scalebound didn't look so good, so I don't know. I mean, like, this is a top tier developer. Bayonetta, You know, I mean, you got lots of franchises that they've created that are successful. So you look at it and be like, okay, what can we gain here? You could potentially gain a top tier Eastern franchise, an IP that's exclusive on your platform
Yep.
that is known for being a top tier Eastern style action game, right? That's huge. That is a huge plus. No matter what anybody wants to say, pro versus con, or like swallowing the pride, they screwed us over before. Let's not give them another chance. For me personally, it's not my money. If they want to go and take a chance and let them play around and see if they can't get Scalebound out, I'm all for it because it's not costing me a thing. I'm not really watching a Microsoft's pocketbook. I'm not like, oh, guys, you know what? You don't want to spend that money now, okay? Yeah, you don't want to waste your money on that. You got to make some savings. I'm not worried about Microsoft's pocketbook here, okay? If they want to go and they want to fund that as a consumer, I get a chance to play more games in Game Pass, more variety, right? It's a win, and we need more of those types of games in Game Pass, right? So it's not just about Scalebound in itself, it's about developing that relationship as well. Because if you hit it with this game, you could potentially have a relationship that's going to go forward with multiple games, and who knows, like Boom, like we said, maybe it could grow into something special. I think.
Matt,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I? Here's my thing about the question that Boom proposed about owning Platinum Games. They don't own their IPs. A lot of their games they made were made by other people. And one of the things that came out in a report, I think this was back in a Game Informer article, was that they were looking to now start self-publishing at one point and owning their IPs because they've only worked on a lot of things that were either licensed or someone came to them and said, "Hey, can you make this?" So my thing is, what are you really buying? I get it. You need talent, but if you have something like Tango that already has talent, you want also a Japanese developer that has some type of IP. That kind of brings it.
Tango is more of like that horror game company, right? So like, what the one thing that Phil said he was most excited about the Activision Blizzard acquisition, the thing he was most excited about was the teams, right? Because out of everything, talent is the biggest commodity you can have in this industry right now.
Yeah.
And there is something about the PlatinumGames style that they've made. I mean, you've had lots of great games, and they have a classic style to them. They're one of the best. Whether anybody wants to say out there, they're one of the best at action games, at that traditional Japanese style action hack and slash. Bayonetta. Just look at Bayonetta, right? There's a reason it stands above as one of the best action games out there.
We forgot Vanquish also, which is another good one.
Vanquish, Metal Gear Rising, Revenge.
Metal Gear Rising was, dude, a lot of people passed on that. Metal Gear Rising is a gem among gems.
Transformers Devastation. Hey, don't write that off. That game was pretty sick. Okay.
Yeah.
The Ninja Turtles game didn't really do it for me. Right.
Yeah, that was terrible.
But there are a lot of really great games that they have made.
Indeed.
And to think that they're just going to forget how to make a game all of a sudden, you have a stable of IP with Xbox now. You have so much IP, so much dormant IP, and they're also kicking off new IP like crazy, right? Yeah. They're investing in so many third-party companies as well to create new IP and their own first-party. IP for me is not a huge reason as to not eventually lead down that path. Scalebound in and of itself is another new IP, right? So it's not something that I worry about with them. In fact, they've made a lot of new IP for other companies, including Bayonetta, Vanquish, and so on, right? So for me, I'm looking at them as like, hey, they can create new IP that people get excited about. Plus, they also know how to do this frequently and consistently. Now, if the Unreal Engine thing was a problem, to say, hey, let's move past that, work on what you want to be comfortable with. And I think that's something that Xbox has learned in the past as well. They've talked about this to stop kind of forcing studios to do specific things and let them be themselves and work creatively. So then also, I think PlatinumGames may have been, grown a little bit since then. So it'd be interesting to see, like if they did have a success with Scalebound, if that did happen, and if they did move forward with this, where could that lead? It could lead to getting more Japanese style games on Xbox. And if that's what the result is, for me, I think it's worth the risk. Phil Spencer, is he willing to swallow his pride? If that's what it is, then I don't know. We'll see. but that's what it would take, I think.
And let's not forget too, Platinum Games just came out and said that they want to start making more online games. And this was supposed to be a co-op multiplayer game.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So again, if they are moving in that direction and they're looking at opportunities to try to get in that space, well, obviously Xbox is the place to be right now for those types of games. And Scalebound could be a perfect game for them to prove that they can move in that direction with those multiplayer online games. And like Mav just got done saying, what if Scalebound comes out fantastic? Again, there's no guarantees in any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's always a risk. But what happens if Scalebound does come out?
What if it's a hit? What if it's
a hit?
Yeah.
Now you've got this great multiplayer game IP, this new IP that takes off, and now you've got something else to add to that stable of Xbox Game Pass games that are perfectly suited for multiplayer experiences. And all of a sudden now you've got a Eastern Japanese one to throw in there as well. Man,
I just don't understand the case against it, because it's like, why are we worried about Microsoft's money?
I think Platinum Games is a studio that has so much creativity. They're just, they're restricted by the fact of, the funding that they get. They kind of remind me a little bit in the sense of Remedy, that's always looking to partner with someone, in the sense. And Platinum had some games, but they seem like the dev that has to keep making some of these games that are hit or miss to just stay afloat and then be able to create some of their passion projects. And we've seen it, like Mav said, like Pong said, like Oxenberg with Nier Automata, Astral Chain, which is amazing. So they have great ideas. Wonderful 101, which is another great game I used to play on the Wii U.
Yep.
So they do have some great games out there.
Well, look, before we bring Joanna Dark into the conversation, let me catch up some of the super chats. The first one of the day comes to us from generous friend of the show, John TJ, drops a very generous, outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Hey guys, do you think Microsoft buys CD Projekt Red, BioWare, or even Crytek? Crytek's the only one on that list. CD Projekt Red is that'd be an expensive purchase for sure. I don't know if they're the same studio after the hack and after, there's a lot of issues over there. I don't know personally. BioWare, good luck with that. You're not getting that from EA. EA would probably just close BioWare if they fail on Dragon Age and the next Mass Effect, whatever that's going to be. Hopefully that in fact isn't the case. We also have, let's see, let me catch them. We have one from Black Sausage, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "What is dead may never die. Hashtag Scalebound." Indeed, brother. I like what you're talking about right there. I want to see Scalebound come back because I like dragons. I like punk kids with headphones on riding dragons. And I also like comeback stories. So you know what? I'm a big old nerd like that. And I'd love to see them give them a second chance. Hell, I would love to see them even potentially at some point. Yeah, like I said, like Pon just said, what if this happens to be a huge hit in the Eastern region and it starts selling Xbox and Xbox Game Pass like crazy? That's a studio that lines up with, hey man, maybe we should consider acquiring them because Platinum Games is legendary, and more importantly, they're legendary in Japan, a region they want to expand. I'm just saying that the writing is kind of on the wall there. But let me see. We had quite a few other super chats come in. Let me see if I can find them. First of all, Crazy Lou's in the chat. Crazy Lou, what's going on, brother? You making these videos, man? Love them. Love to see them. Okay, here's the other one. Dan Lazaro.
Don't encourage him, Boom.
we have to stoke the fire here. Dan Lazaro drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Don't take your girl back after she cheated on you. If Phil gives these fools a second chance and they do the same thing, he'll look like a clown."
Hey, let me say something to this too, Boom.
Sure.
Okay, so imagine the world tomorrow. Xbox announces Scalebound is back in development, and they release a video between Phil Spencer and Hideki Kamiya, and they address the whole situation. Yeah. And they say, but we're going to make this a great game, and it's going to be in Game Pass day one, coming out in early 2024, and it's going to be everything you ever hoped for it ever could be, right? Do you not think there would be like amazing excitement throughout the Xbox community?
It would steal the show in regards to.
So like,
you
know, hey, like we're all going to pretend like, oh, they burned me before, I'm not going to give them a second chance. If that got announced, who are we kidding? we just got another big time exclusive dropping into Game Pass day one, unlike any other game that we have coming out, unless that IO interactive game is like a Scalebound. Who knows exactly? But
That's true.
we'll
That is true.
see.
Project Dragon.
I just think the excitement that would come from that would over dominate any of these like concerns that we're having now. Oh, should they swallow that pill and not? And it's, I mean, come on, really? It's a new game.
Yeah,
I
agree.
we get excited about new games.
I absolutely right there. And Rain G4, generous and good friend of the show, he says this hashtag save Scalebound. We should run that. We should run that. The Xbox Factor crew should get out there and post hashtag save Scalebound. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that right live on the air. And you know what? Retweet it. Let Phil that we know that you want this. Let Camilla know that you want this. Let PlatinumGames know you want this. And maybe we could will it into actual existence. I don't know. We also have JC Claramore, good friend of the show. He drops very generous $2 super chat and says, didn't Xbox need a second chance after the red ring of death? Indeed, there, JC Claramore. I like what you're putting down there. Excellent. Well, great point. And you know what? They're still around. We gave them a second chance, didn't we, folks? Listen, Mr. Joanna Dark, this is a hotly debated topic. Listen, if you're on the fence and you're like, yeah, I don't know so much about them, they kind of did Microsoft wrong. Well, they did, and that's a fact. Jez Corden, like Pong said, it brought up into the conversation. Listen, I trust Jez indubitably. That's a guy that is, he's on the pulse of gaming, and he knows what he's talking about. And it's why I use a lot of his articles in most of the work that I do, because I trust him. And if he's saying that some of the other things were falsities and, just rumors and maybe NDAs were, a part of the conversation, you got to understand, I've signed several NDAs when I worked with Microsoft to bring Larry Herb to the Xbox Factor podcast interview. I had to sign an NDA. I couldn't talk about it. And if I would have, I'd have been in big trouble. NDAs are the real deal. So if they couldn't talk about it because of, specific NDAs, maybe that's why they couldn't get out there and defend Phil, even though they wanted to. I'm not making excuses. I'm saying it's a possibility. But Mr. Joanna Dark, this is a game I don't think we're ever going to stop talking about. And I think that there are certainly more pros, in my personal opinion, than cons. Where do you fall on returning to the world of Scalebound?
They say what, two wrongs don't make a right? That was a song.
Yeah.
So it's business at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure in the
there was also a song. It takes two to make something right. So there you go.
We've seen so many different things that happen. But at the end of the day, unless you really screwed something over, it's always business, right? And you can always repair. Look what Xbox did, right? In the Xbox One era, bad messaging, everything. Now, a lot of developers are coming back and saying, you know what, we love working with the person out there. So again, forgiveness, second chances, right? Because everyone wants to make money. It's funny that I kind of saw this tweet from Hideki Kamiya, because it reminds me of the same thing that Tomonobu Itagaki did, the guy from
Ninja Gaiden,
saying he wanted to work, and again, funding, right? And to kind of go on Pong Soul's thing was the fact that when I look at Microsoft before and I look at Platinum and I look now, right? Microsoft has tools. So let's just say now with the tools that they're putting there for developers, PlayFab and all that. Outriders was on PlayFab, right? Those deficiencies that maybe were there are now available for these people to help them, right? And Platinum, and make the game. And it makes sense with the way Game Pass wants these games to kind of be connected. And it's funny that Certain Affinity was making a Monster-esque like game. And when I look at Scalebound, I was watching it as everyone was talking. Scalebound reminded me of a single player narrative, kind of Scalebound, Horizon Zero Dawn, of course, because it had a dragon type of game. And it just, when I keep looking at this game and I keep looking at the dragons and the monster, it reminds me of a Monster Hunter game. And what if, they had this grand idea, and because of the technology at the time and the fact of the vision on one side when it came from Microsoft, the person providing the money, and then Platinum just wasn't working at the time. But there's something there. When I first saw the game, I wasn't convinced, but when I was looking at it right now, there's potential there. In the sense of, I guess first pitch the idea. I would, if I was, Phil or anyone who's going there to talk with Platinum, let me know exactly what I'm getting myself into. Give me the idea, and then kind of weigh it against what maybe Certain Affinity or maybe some other people, IO Interactive, are making. And that does that make sense, or has that been checked off in the portfolio with the type of game that Platinum wants to bring? I think that I don't know. I think this is maybe them needing funding. That's another thing that we kind of saw, that they do want to make live service games. This is them pitching to try to see kind of the same thing with Itagaki, where the whole thing was, hey, I'm out of Team Ninja. I'm looking for a job. I started a studio. Let's work together. But I think you also brought a great point, Boom, when we were talking, right? Is that maybe Japanese studios are starting to say, hey, we want to work with Microsoft. We want to come in and see what we can do. And I think
it's one of the areas that they're light in there, Mr. Joanna Dark. They're real light, and a lot of people in this community. Listen, I hear you. If you turn around and say, hey, Boom, you know what? No offense, Japanese games, just not my bag. That's fine. But we cannot argue the fact that that's not being your bag. There are a lot of people in this community that want those types of games. This is one of those types of games. And I like I said, I think that because I kind of starting to see the stars align here. Again, my opinion.
I look at it this way, right? And I think everyone in the panel agrees here. Being the bigger person, right? Extending your hand. And what that shows from a perspective of the Microsoft and the leadership is the fact that, hey, you know what? Let bygones be bygones.
Indeed.
We want to be able to attract more Japanese developers or developers from China, all those markets, right? Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can work out. And like everyone said here, right? Here are the contracts, here are the stipulations, here's the budget that we want you to work with. Here are the milestones and the sprints that I need you to show me at a certain point. And do understand, of course, this is all under red tape, that at one point we'll cut you off. But I think Platinum is too talented. And maybe they've also figured out the fact that I cannot take on 12 different projects at one time.
Yes,
let's get the talent that we have.
Yeah.
And let's make a game. And who knows, maybe they can sign a second party deal similar to IO Interactive and all these other studios, and we can see a game. I mean, again, I know everyone has different opinions. To me, looking at this video just a couple of minutes ago, I see the potential as someone who loves a lot of Japanese influenced games. And again, Monster Hunt is one of my favorite games. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games. This looks like something that can be similar because it had monsters, it has that, and it kind of has all the factors that you see right now, Microsoft, with the whole connected engagement. And it could be, again, it can be lightning, right, in a bottle, and you never know. So,
and who doesn't want to fly dragons with their friends? Seriously,
wearing headphones.
I do. Yeah, wearing Beats. Maybe Surface headphones. No. It'll be Surface headphones because it'll be Surface headphones this time. It'll be like, hey,
it's got to be Beats by Dre.
No, there'll be Xbox headphones, kind of like
they have to. They're not going to pay Apple for Beats, but
it'll be Bang in all house.
Yes,
if that's the case, what the game is, and I think that is what everyone wants the game to be. This big open world where we can fly a dragon and play with our friends, play solo, have those Monster Hunter type games, have that action that we know from Devil May Cry.
Yes.
That's what everyone wants, but they have not shown that. What they have shown from Scalebound did not look like what we want it to be. So,
did you ever play the game Lair on PS3?
No.
It reminds me of Lair meets Devil May Cry, meets all these mashups. And again, even though it sounds crazy, I mean, Metal Gear Revengeance was crazy. So I know that they can make crazy look cool. And I can imagine some of the fights they can make with these big dragons and all these spectacle moments. It could be like a Michael Bay movie.
Yes, I agree. Look, I'll say this as we move on to topic number 2. This is something I have a very strong suspicion that we are going to be talking about for quite some time because it's just not going to be put to the wayside, and I'm actually glad for it because listen, in an era where acquisitions seem to be the rage and most of the conversations that we're having, I kind of like bringing it back down to games, and this is one of those games that. It has such a history for a game that is vaporware. It has such history that I think it almost has to be given a second chance just based on its reputation of where it was. Who wouldn't want to see this come back in a big way? I mean, I listen, again, if it's not your bag, I hear you, but I think this has a more upswing for a generational and regional win from Microsoft than people are giving it credit for. People are just poo-pooing it because, well, PlatinumGames did Microsoft wrong, so screw them. But this is business. You know, we get too much in our feelings over these over the boxes and the colors. And listen, Microsoft is trying to make waves in a region that they have failed for years. This is an opportunity to partner up with a legacy a developer like Platinum, bring those waves, bring Xbox into the conversation, and bring back an IP that, again, a lot of people were looking forward to in that region. Did it show off good originally? No, it didn't. It was running at like 6 frames per second. But they came out and said, hey, listen, we weren't used to working with Unreal. We didn't know what it took to make a multiplayer game, an online game. I think that they have grown as a studio, and I think with listen, partner them up with another team. They have 30 plus teams.
Hey, Boom, I was saying this, right? And I know this is, what if they say, okay, Certain Affinity has an idea, and it seems that this aligns with this whole Monster Hunter thing. What can you do with Scalebound? I mean, the way I look with also Platinum Super thing is kind of like I used to have a handyman, great handyman, did everything. The problem was similar to Platinum is he took too many jobs. So what happened is that unfortunately I was a casualty of his too many jobs, and he messed up something of the work that I paid him for. So when I look at this is a company that needed funding, and what if they do work again? Microsoft cuts them a decent amount of check. This game is successful. And then that provides them their financial stability to then make their next success, and and who knows from there. And I think again, it comes down to
this could be
funding.
a trilogy. This could be an ongoing franchise. This could become a legacy IP in Japan. You just don't know. And I think everyone at Platinum wants to do it. And listen, if you know anything about the Japanese culture, they are a very prideful culture. And I think that you just go and read the article from IGN, read it from Game Rant, read it from whoever's putting it out there. The quotes say to me that if they are given the opportunity to open this conversation, I think there's a good shot that we're going to get something special. I would even dare say, Mav, this could be their best game ever.
Hey, and aren't we just all curious at this point? I mean, come on. Like,
I am.
Microsoft just fund it because I'm just curious as hell. I got to see what this game is. I mean, this has been talked about.
Definitely would be an awesome
or release the prototype, like Ghost, release it in the wild,
guys,
and let me play it.
Aren't you just curious to like play this freaking Scalebound game just to see what all this fuss is about for the last decade? Let's go.
Listen, hopefully they even have a song track that you could just pick when you listen to your headphones. It's
the collector's edition is Surface headphones that you can just listen to the music.
Sign me up right now. I love
gotta be Beats by Dre, dude. Nothing else will work. I'm serious.
Great. Have Microsoft team up with Beats. I love it. Listen, folks, this was a topic that we didn't that I didn't write into the show. So unfortunately, we're probably going to have to skip some of the ones, but the one that we're not going to skip that we're going to get to right now is the one that I'm most excited to talk about, and that's Phil Spencer, specifically getting nominated by DICE for first of all, it's going to be DICE's 25th anniversary show. And to make it even special, more than them doing it for 25 years, which is incredible, Phil Spencer is going to be awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award. I think that it is it's an incredible accomplishment when you look at where Phil Spencer started. This is a guy that started as an intern at Microsoft 20 plus years ago. I believe it's about he's been in the company about over 25 years. I'm not sure, but I want to bring up a conversation, and I want to kind of round robin it because this is pretty awesome. Now, I pulled this from purexbox.com. I love the guys and gals over at Pure Xbox. They're always putting out great content. I follow them. I have them with alerts on for Twitter, and I go to their site to use a lot of their articles because I do quite enjoy it. This particular article that they wrote is why I think Phil Spencer deserves this award. He basically what they tweeted is Xbox fan shares their experience playing Xbox Game Pass with Phil Spencer. And this is pretty interesting. Let's see what he had to say. He said this. He posted this on Reddit, and the gamer said, "I had the pleasure of gaming and chatting with Phil Spencer for an hour on Rainbow Six Extraction." And this is the guy's name is Omniscient Wolf Gaming. And he was sent a party invite by Phil Spencer. And this is what he had to say when he was interviewed by PureXbox.com. "I try to keep my cool, which I think I did for the most part, but it's not every day you play with the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. He asked me a few questions, and in general, his easygoing style of conversation just made me less nervous to be a part of the gang a bit for about an hour. I was being super Canadian and reiterated a couple of times how appreciative I was of getting those games in, and Phil was super humble about it all. It made my night for sure." Now, I mean, think about this for a second, folks. You're online and you get sent an invite by Phil freaking Spencer. Like, who in gaming does that? Who from your favorite company, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Nintendo, or pick a developer? I'm a big fan of Corey Barlog. I love how he interacts with the community. Though I've never heard anyone say, "Hey, listen, I was hanging out and Corey Barlog and I were kind of shooting the shit." I've never heard that, and I think Corey is amazing. Have you heard Bowser from Nintendo? And I'm not talking about the reptile. I'm talking about the head of the whole company sitting down. Well, you really can't play anything online with Nintendo.
They don't have internet. Yeah, they don't have
They
internet.
they don't have internet. This is terrible. That was a horrible point I was trying to make. Anyway, Pong, I got to go to you first on this, brother. If there's one thing that we have all talked about on this program, you and Steele have talked about it on yours. You've talked about it with Mav. We've all talked about Microsoft's executives being on another level when it comes to interacting with the community. I mean, look, perfect example. You take this. The guy is playing with the head of Microsoft Gaming in Phil Spencer, and they're just kind of conversating like we're doing right now live on the air for this podcast. That's pretty epic, and again rolls right into which we're going to get to the back half of the show. Why Phil Spencer deserves this illustrious award. What are your thoughts on this?
Again, it goes right to his philosophy that he has always talked, but he walks the walk. So that's a lot of what you can say about Phil, is that he proves that he believes completely in everything that he says. Now, every business goes through changes. Every business, you can come out and say something and it might be true at that time and then it's not. But a lot of companies also lie flat out, right? And we've seen that in this industry as well. But Phil, when he comes out and says something, he means it. And he's built, it's not just about Phil, and that's a great thing. And when we talk about the award, Phil's that guy that gives credit to his entire team. And
he always talks about that. He always mentions Redmond. Listen, I'm the front facing, but it's an entire team that moves this company. That's great. Great point.
Exactly. And he always kind of deflects away from the personal awards and the credit that people give him, which is a great, it's a humble thing. And it's not fake with him. He is actually humble. But at the same time, Phil himself is the man who put that team, built that team, and he got everybody on the same page. That's a leader. Right now, there's leaders that go out there and that will, take all the praise and take all the heat as well. But then there's leaders like Phil who want to spread the accolades around, who don't want to take credit for what they truly are, which is being a figurehead that actually can build something from the ground up. I think Drake probably made his song started from the bottom just for Phil, because that's who this man is, right?
I love it. That's great.
That whole song, if you go through
love it.
I mean,
That's
that's the lyrics, that's like fits Phil perfectly. The man started from the ground at Microsoft, has been there since day one, basically at this point, and has worked his way up through the ranks. And that credit is to him and his self only. Even if he doesn't want to take it, just from the outside, you can say Phil worked his way up by being the person that he is, and he hasn't changed. That's the amazing thing, right? There's that saying, you want to find out who somebody really is, give them some power, right? Phil has stayed the exact same throughout his entire career.
Great point.
Right? He has not changed. Again, I don't know him personally. I don't know the man. I don't know who he is on the inside. All I can do is from the outside looking at him. And the man has remained constant throughout this entire process of becoming one of the most powerful people in the video game industry, which is the hottest industry in the world right now, which is now the #1 entertainment industry in the world. That is saying something.
Well, no, I mean, even so more, to that point, Pong.
Yeah.
Microsoft was ready to get rid of the Xbox division. And I say he, I'm sure that there are other people, but we got to call a spade here. Phil went to Satya and said whatever he told him, and he got him to turn allowed him the time to turn this ship around. If you look at where they were and where they are now, it is a success story that we have not seen in gaming in 25 plus years.
Oh yeah, at least through the decades. And there was another article that came out, I believe this past week as well, talking about how he had to fight for Game Pass, that it wasn't an easy sell, that it wasn't something that everybody inside was on board with. There was a lot of doubters. And Phil had to keep going back. And they talked about it in the article that it was Phil, and obviously he had other people helping him, but it was Phil, the driving force. He was the one that was getting in those meetings. He was the one that was having those one-on-ones with Satya. And he had to go back and keep reworking the Game Pass model and figuring out how he could sell this to people internally. And he did that. He believed in it that much, that this could be a way forward for Xbox to continue in this industry as they had started out. Again, we don't know if Xbox division would have been completely shuttered. We don't know if they would have sold off pieces or if they would have just turned into a publisher and it would have been a cute little publishing house. They would have kept the studios they had, added things like Minecraft and stuff like that, but never really fulfilled what the promise was when they initially started Xbox. But Phil got in there, dug deep, continued to believe in what he was selling, and found a way to present it where people started to listen, especially Satya. And once you have the head of a $2 trillion plus company on board with something, well, guess what? You've made it. And now you're at the big boy table. Now you're sitting at one of the pillars of Xbox, and that's all due to Phil's drive, his belief, and because it was something that aligned with his core beliefs, that he wasn't faking it. He wasn't doing it just from hey, I'm going to be the head of Xbox and I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to have all these titles and all. That's not what it was about for him. It was about him as the gamer and believing in the gaming division itself and what it could give to the rest of the world. And again, you can poo-poo that. You can try to, say, hey, at the end of the day, it's still about money. Yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it's still about business. But Phil's beliefs go deeper than that. And he's a gamer at heart and has never lost that during each one of his steps up through this gigantic corporation. And he's believed that the gamer deserves better. And at the end of the day, he found a way to give us a service in Game Pass that creates value for everybody. Again, if this was only one-sided, we wouldn't have Game Pass. If it was only our value, we wouldn't have it because Microsoft wouldn't see it as viable. Microsoft wouldn't see it as something that could push forward. But now he's got everybody in a big circle, and we're all being rewarded from this idea that he had, and that obviously other people within the corporation had as well, but he was the driving force behind all of it. And Phil, again, when you hear these stories about him being out here and playing games with the community, again, another philosophy that we've seen permeate throughout the upper echelons of Xbox specifically. They are front facing, they are out in the community, they're on Twitter, they're responding to people, they are sharing their excitement for the love of gaming with us, which again is very, very unique in this specific industry. And so I think that has propelled them as the success comes. That adds to that momentum because they are out here celebrating with us all the successes that they are having and that we as gamers are getting to enjoy. And I think that's the best part about all of this.
Yeah, we're going to come back around to your opinion on the award and what the award means on the back end, but I got to bring in Boxenberg. Listen, Archimedes, you've talked about this not numerous times on the videos that you do, and I'm probably on this show more times than not. What Phil does by allowing someone as a high position as he has, and at his core, he's just like one of us. Yes, he's making six figures. Yes, he has an incredible responsibility at Microsoft, at Xbox, to make sure that the brand succeeds, to make sure. I mean, he just did an interview saying how difficult and how daunting the Activision Blizzard deal is because of all the people they have coming in. It's an unbelievable monster responsibility.
Yeah.
But he still finds a way to come down from the ivory tower and just game with us. That is something no one is doing. And this is another story that proves the mythos is true.
True. Absolutely, and that's why he deserves this award more than anyone in the industry I can think of. Pong brought up so many awesome arguments, and if you look at his journey through Microsoft, he is this guy who worked his way all to the top. And Pong elaborated on that. I want to bring in another aspect. It's not just about what he does or did for Xbox, but for the entire gaming industry. A while ago, a couple of months ago, I made a video on how Microsoft changed the gaming industry over the course of the last 10 years. And almost all points I made in this video come back to Phil Spencer. Yes, like you guys said, there are always many people involved when you talk about stuff like Game Pass, like back compat and so on. I will go into those in a second. But there's always this team involved. But you have to have that one figurehead that has a voice to the overarching company that is behind an idea. Otherwise, in such a big company, you won't get stuff done. If you don't have a supporter, if you don't have a leader figure behind whatever innovation we're talking about, these kind of projects are probably doomed. And that is what Phil Spencer is. He looks at all the stuff he does, not just from this perspective of the company, but also, of course, like you guys said, from the perspective of a gamer. And he always looks at the entire industry. He has said multiple times his vision is to make the gaming industry, to grow the gaming industry into the best entertainment medium industry there is. It is his target not to rival Sony. It is to grow the cake that they can share with everyone. It is his ambition is to make gaming more accessible than ever before and to bring it to more people than ever before. And he is succeeding in that. And when we look at what he has done, when he took over in 2014, it took him more than only about a year, a little bit more than a year, till he announced back compat. Now we are used to this so much that we don't think about this anymore. But it was him who greenlighted that, and it changed the console gaming industry because we didn't have back compat at the time on consoles. That was a new concept. Yes, we had back compat in the very beginning, for instance, of the PS3 days, but that feature didn't get any attention from Sony, so that they even ditched that when they had an iteration of the PS3. So it wasn't really the same. Microsoft brought under Phil Spencer brought that back, and it really changed the console industry. Can you think about when we had the console launch now 15 months ago? This was unthinkable that these consoles are not back compat. It is really something. Then we had, of course, stuff like Game Pass. That is definitely a game changer in the entire industry. We're moving towards that subscription model. But it's also with that entire ecosystem mentality that console is more or gaming is more than just playing on one device. And we see that other companies are following that track. Sony is now published. Jim Ryan literally said he wants to ditch the console-only space. He wants to become multi-plat. They are recently releasing their games on PC. Eventually, I have zero doubt that they also go into the cloud and wanna be able to reach all the mobile devices and so on. Asante, what's up?
Yes. We're gonna bring him in for the Phil talk. I saw him in the chat, and so but continue, Boxenberger.
Yeah. So it is. It is a huge innovation that Microsoft under Phil Spencer introduced and that they're pursuing. It's other smaller things that people sometimes don't really talk about, but I think they are even as big as a deal as Game Pass is, for instance, the efforts that Phil is doing with the accessibility, with stuff like the what's the controller for handicapped people playing on the name.
The adaptive controller.
Adaptive controller, stuff like that. Yeah. They had an entire gaming showcase last year that was just centered around accessibility for handicapped people. Yep. What company does that? Microsoft under Phil Spencer is doing so many things that really changed the gaming industry from the ground up. And that is why Phil definitely deserves this award more than anyone I can think of right now in the gaming industry.
And you make a great point. Listen, I want to come to Mav in a second and Mr. Joanna Dark, but I got to bring Kay Asante into the conversation because we only have him for a moment. Kay Asante, thank you for joining, jumping in. We're talking about Phil Spencer, the mythos of Phil Spencer, how he just, games with anyone and everyone for no reason other than he's a gamer. But I want to bring up the article. Now, I pulled the article regarding this 25th anniversary D.I.C.E awards that he's going to be presented, the Lifetime Achievement Award, and I pulled it from good friends of ours of this show and many people's shows, Windows Central. The author was Samuel Tolbert, and what's interesting is it turns out that creative director of Bethesda Game Studios, Todd Howard, is going to be the one. God Howard, to
praise be his name,
will be presenting this award to Phil. And if you're wondering, folks, what the Lifetime Achievement Award is, it recognizes in gaming, in the gaming industry, an extraordinary achievements and in leadership. And this is some of the company that Phil is now going to be rubbing elbows with. Past winners, including Ken Kutaragi of Sony in 2007 and Satoru Iwata, who won these prestigious award in 2015. Those are some pretty big names. But here is what D.I.C.E had to say. Well, actually, this is Megan Savaro, president of the Academy of Interactive Arts and Science, on the behalf of the Academy's board of directors. And this is what they had to say regarding Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer has demonstrated both passion and leadership throughout his entire career at Microsoft. He's responsible for countless impactful and pivotal initiatives and has reverberated throughout the entire gaming industry. Well, that's a lot of words, a lot of big words, and I actually got them off with no problem. So I'm actually not that dumb. So this is great. Listen, all jokes aside, I love the fact that Phil is getting this award simply because, listen, we can talk all day about how many times he's gamed with people for no reason, like in Destiny and in Rainbow Six Siege that just came out, which we talked about prior. For you, Kay Asante, what jumps off the page as why Phil Spencer deserves this illustrious award that he's going to be getting this year at D.I.C.E, the 25th anniversary?
Yeah. So I think, and the panel, and of course, I was like listening in between my meetings, and you guys are making amazing points. I think the panel members all make really interesting points on as to why he deserves what he's getting. Where I see it from, and we spoke about this yesterday on Primetime Gaming. That company specifically has eyes on them, very, very big eyes all the time, because as you know, they are the big dog in any room they walk into. Anything they do can reverberate throughout the entire industry so vastly in a negative way if they so choose, right? If they were to act like their competitors, it would be the worst of all options, right? So it's very, they're very cognizant of the way they need to behave when they are out in the public. And nothing solidifies that more in how Phil Spencer behaves. I think the best thing that ever happened was whoever gave Phil his position. Like, they put the perfect dude in that position, because they don't want somebody in there that would presume to be acting in a certain way, but it's disingenuous and you can tell, right? He is very natural in his way. The article that you were reading off about the person who was gaming with him, I've seen it firsthand. Like, I watch a lot of, as y'all know, I'm in your chats. I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of Twitch and all of that. I have seen dudes playing Destiny, and then Phil Spencer just showed up, like literally just showed up and was playing with them for a while. And like they were playing before, and then and then he comes, plays with them for about 20 minutes and then leaves. And the conversation after he leaves, yo, that dude is great, man. He said, and they were like playing
I love it.
They were playing like in compatibility mode, so Xbox and PlayStation people, and it was just like, yo, you know, the sense that he is very, very much a genuine individual is very clear, you know, and they need someone like that. I know that a lot of people like throw this cynical view around that, you know, it's all an act. You can't act like that all day, every day. Eventually the shroud drops and you get to, you know, you get a hot mic moment. You know what I'm saying? There are no hot mic moments with him. He is even keeled to a fault, right?
Yes.
So even though, like, and the Kamiya conversation that you guys were having before, that is how we want him to sound. We want him to do that Denzel Washington smack a door in somebody's face as soon as somebody says this. But that's not him. You know what I mean?
No.
He's very cool, very chill, you know, and I think the reason he's getting this award is because they recognize, the entire gaming industry recognizes how much power this man wields just by having the $2 trillion reins and what he could do with that. And instead, he always chooses to use it for good.
Yes.
You know, that adaptive controller could have been an Xbox exclusive. It works on everything, including the Switch. Right.
As a matter of fact, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that in an interview. He basically had said publicly, "Hey, listen, if Nintendo wants to make it, we'll give them the blueprints.
Exactly.
If Sony wants to make it, we'll give them the blueprints. We just want gamers to be able to game."
That's right.
Who says that?
Yeah, exactly. And the parts that they use are industry standard parts for folks that have needs in that realm. So you can literally buy off the shelf parts for your purposes to adapt the adaptive controller to make it work for you. You don't have to get anything special. It's all literally built so that you, whoever needs to use it, can use it. Whether it never be on an Xbox console ever. It could be on a PC. It could be on a PlayStation. It could be anywhere you want. Who makes devices, you know, for everyone to be able to use, and does that, like, puts the R&D dollars in, you know, this is this man, right? He
absolutely,
like, and he understands that business is business, but in general, you'll never hear him come out and say an ill word against anybody, right? What was it? I was checking the Dutch's timeline for all the slander, because, you know, he likes to cut people in half when they do bad things out there.
He does wield a very big battle axe.
He wields that axe like gloriously. Like, one of the Google execs was just coming down ridiculously left and right, and, you know, coming down against Microsoft, right? A Google exec that at a very high level, I think, talking about how they're not allowing other people to play with use different payment systems on a platform, clearly being disingenuous, right? Trying to, you know, oh, look at Microsoft kind of thing. You will never, ever hear Phil Spencer come out and say anything of that type.
That is correct.
Even when he has all the goods to be able to rebut, he'll just sit there and take the arrows, right? I was talking to folks in the chat. That is the mark of a good leader, like Pong said, the mark of a great leader. The arrows stop with him and the praise goes to the team every time, right? Anytime anything happens, oh, the buck stops here. But anytime anything great happens, oh, it's my team. That is the mark of a great leader. And because of that, he deserves those awards. And that's why all of his enemies, quote unquote enemies, as far as in the competitive space, they can go back and forth in WWE all they want. But at the end of the day, they respect the hell out of that man. Because he's always so kind and always so gracious,
I mean, fantastic point. Listen, Mav, I want to bring you into the conversation, but before I do, the super chats have piled up, and I got to catch up to them.
Ooh,
Lord Roughness, and we have a big one that dropped also. Lord Roughness, generous friend of the show, he drops a £2 super chat and says, "Not your topic, but what's wrong with Crossfire X? I hope nothing, because I have it pre-ordered and I will be playing that game." Listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Whether you hate me moving forward, I am a Remedy stan. I love their stuff. I've been a big fan of them since way back in the days. I enjoyed Quantum Break. I was through the roof excited that that Alan Wake 2 is officially announced. And listen, it's their first game in first person, right? It's a first person shooter by Remedy. Okay, sign me up. That's why I bought the big edition.
I think that's why everyone is excited for it. What is really weird, and I think that
is the advertising is terrible.
There's zero advertisement.
Zero. And big donut. Yeah, it's awful. I hope that it's one of those gems. It's weird that it wasn't in Game Pass. Now it's in Game Pass. The part of it is, listen, I hope that we walk away from this like, man, that's actually a pretty good game. I'd love to see them continue, but again, let me continue with the super chats before we get off topic. Thank you for the super chat, brother, and thank you for the comment. We also have, let's see, where are we? Holy matrimony. We have a lot of people making great comments. Chaos Mike, generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, "Phil needs to be knighted for achieving this achievement. So add Sir to the front of his name." So it's going to be Phil, Sir, or Sir Phil, Maximus Dominus Aurelius Spencer. I kind of think that's good. We're gonna have to run it past King David because he's the one that gave him the name. Phil, Maximus, which started out with just one, and now he has three. I've been saying for a while he needs a fourth one in there. King says nay.
The father of dragons. There it is.
Father of dragons. I love it. This is great. Let's see. What else do we got over here? We have Drawn TJ drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Don't forget, Phil got PlayStation to do crossplay, and Microsoft bailed out Sony when they got hacked and lost billions. They could have let Sony die, but in return, we got Blu-ray." I mean, it was, it's one hand wash the other situation, but yeah, that hack from back in the days. And holy matrimony, this one's big. Pragmatic Eagle, generous from the show, he drops an unbelievable $50 super chat. Holy matrimony, brother. Thank you for the generosity. He says this about JRPGs: "Gamers that don't play them have no idea how diverse they are. So many think they are all turn-based. They are not. Tales of Arise, which I bought, Scarlet Nexus is dope. If you missed out on that
playing
game,
that right now, actually,
really, really good. Are modern RPGs and not turn-based Dragon Quest, like Dragon Quest is. Point is, we need more JRPGs here, 100%. And that's why I'm pushing the envelope with Bring Scalebound back, because it is a very heavy Japanese-esque title that I think the platform needs. And like I said, the game does have a legacy, and I would love to see it come back. Thank you for the generosities, brother. That is really, really extreme. I really appreciate it. Mav, let's get you in on the conversation. What are your thoughts on Phil bringing home this big award? I mean, he's a humble dude, and he's, he obviously, when you hear him talk about, he doesn't talk about himself. He gets embarrassed, and that's another sign of a good leader. Like I don't talk about myself. I don't like doing that either, because it's just not my thing.
Well, let's do
but
that. Let's just talk about you for a while then.
no, don't do that because everyone knows my story. It's boring.
Okay.
But Phil Spencer's story is not boring, and he is getting. And I think it's fitting. I love the fact that the head one of the important father figures of Bethesda in God Howard, there you go, praise his name.
Praise be his name, amen.
is presenting it. They're very good friends. I think it's incredibly fitting. What are your thoughts on Phil bringing home this big award?
I mean, I think it's very deserving. You look at the amount of stuff that's happened since he's taken over.
Yeah.
Right. It's absolutely insane. The hole that they had to dig out of, to not only dig out of that hole, but to now lead the biggest shift in the gaming industry across the board, right? They are literally carving out their own path, and everybody else is looking and watching and being like, what happened? We need to do that. Right? To get from where they were to that, but also look at when he took over. He stood on stage and he gave these checklists, right? We're going to win over the trust of our consumers.
Yeah.
We're going to rebuild our first party studios. We're going to start getting more games out. We're going to all these things, right? Like he listed like this checklist. I don't know the 100% the list, but if you go back and look at everything he said he was going to do, he has
delivered in spades. P.S. By the
way, exactly what he said, and in a way above and beyond, while still remaining just this down to earth guy that plays games with people on Xbox and plays Destiny, Rainbow Six Extraction, or whatever it is. He was playing Call of Duty the day after they acquired Activision Blizzard. That announcement came out. I don't know if anybody saw that. That was interesting, but yeah, he has meetings. They have meetings in game, right? They have meetings in game with team leaders, right? If he has a meeting with like the Elder Scrolls team, they'll meet in Elder Scrolls Online.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was actually just gonna say that it came out that a lot of the times when he's in these big business meetings, he's playing. He's the head of Xbox. He's the head of Microsoft Gaming, and he's playing on his Surface or on a tablet. That's crazy.
It is, dude. I mean, he's just a down to earth regular guy that you know how it's like sometimes the good guys win, right? Sometimes the good guys win, and it may take a long time, a lot of hard work, sticking with the same company, and then building up, getting there. But he's had a vision and a way to turn Xbox around, and he's done it in spades. Now to where it's one of the core pillars of Microsoft. If you go back and watch that Xbox documentary and see where Xbox was and the convincing they had to do to even get a project Xbox kicked off the ground, to now where it's a core pillar, they were ready to give up on them, like you guys said, like 2016, 2017 potentially, move on from it. He sat there and like, no, this is how we're gonna do it. This is what we need to do. He got in Satya's ear. They made the changes, and now it's one of the biggest parts of gaming, and they've created something that is going to transcend. Like people don't understand like the amount of change that they have dug throughout the industry here. The subscription model, the cloud technology, cloud development services, all of these things they're at the forefront, way above anybody else in the gaming space. And that's because of his vision in pushing this forward. And it's led to better games, more investment in games. And everybody else now trying to get on board that train. So when it comes down to when he decides to leave the video game space, which I hope it never happens. I mean, it will eventually, Will there be an executive in the gaming space that we can look at besides maybe, people like Shigeru Miyamoto, people like that, right? That have had as big of an impact on gaming than Phil Spencer.
Now, the list is short. I think his successor, and I've been saying this for a while, I think it's going to be Sarah Bond. I think
Yeah.
she's already displayed how incredible of an executive she is, but more so of just a person. I mean, like I said, she's another one that goes out and reach. I mean, I've had 2 interactions with her. I honestly can't believe that when I hit 10K and I changed my Twitter logo,
I saw that.
she actually wrote to me, "I like that." What? Like, are you
Yeah.
serious? And then, of course, one of the things I was most proud of this particular month was recognizing so many of my brothers, my African American brothers, and Kay Asante was one of them. With my celebrating Black History Month. That's important to me because my brother is African American, if you didn't know that. And obviously being that's an important aspect. So I put out a tweet, not because I was expecting anyone to like it or dislike it. I just put it out because it's important. It's a conversation that's important to me. And she actually wrote to me again. That's bonkers. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
big,
again, I say this about many people. Aaron Greenberg's another one. I mean, he talks to the people. They have so many executives that you only see this happen on Microsoft. But I want to bring it back around to Phil. Continue.
Well, I want to say also, Boom, those interactions that they have with you is also a level of respect that they have for you and what you've done, because they do watch and keep an eye out
Yeah,
there.
they do. They're always watching.
Always
watching.
They're not going to sit there and interact with the trolls.
I'm
You
the
know, they're
Mikey
not gonna,
Barra here.
Did anybody get that reference? That's a good reference. Good job, Boom.
That is one of my favorite films, Toy
Me
Story.
too.
Always watching.
No, that is Monsters University.
Yeah,
Monsters
that's what I
Inc.
said. Yes.
That's
I
right,
said
yeah,
Toy
that-
Story.
My daughter
Monsters
watches it all
University.
day.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just their level of commitment to the fan base and services and all of these things has kind of led the industry, and the whole we just want people to play anywhere that they want to play. It sounded like crazy at the time, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, we're used to buying a box and buying games that we play on that box. And I don't want, what do you mean you're going to play anywhere? You're going to take my games and put them on PC and so let other people enjoy them? What the heck's going on
How dare
here?
you?
I don't know. What's happening to the world? It's changing. It works. Guess what? It works. And it grown the business. And I just have a lot of respect for a guy that sees, okay, this is how we should do it. This is what's best for the consumer. They always say it, put the player at the center, right? Put the player at the center of everything. And their focus on what's best for the consumer is going to be what's best for them, right? And that was the core shift within his philosophy. And breaking down barriers and lowering the gate of entry into gaming. Now more people can enjoy and play games than ever before. That was his goal from the forefront when they talk about reaching all those billions of gamers out there. They have a long-term vision that he's been behind since he took over, and it's amazing to see this, and he's done it the right way every step of the way. So congratulations to him on receiving that. It's very well deserved.
Mav, real quick, don't you think that the reason why some people hate on him is because he's just too damn wholesome? Right?
I think
it sounds too good to be true, and somehow he still fulfills those roles all the time. Kumbaya
what was his
Phil
nickname
or whatever.
Before? Yeah, Kumbaya Phil. You know, because everything is everything's great, everything's okay. You know what I mean? But it's okay. I have that attitude a lot as well, right? When things are all crumbling around you, and it's like, hey, everything's gonna be okay, right? I get where he's coming from on that, and sometimes people can see it as a weakness, right? Sometimes people can take it and criticize you for that, but there's something to say for a guy like Phil who's sitting there standing strong.
It shows their own weakness when they criticize you about it.
I mean,
very true.
Right?
Go
ahead.
It's like that saying, when someone criticizes someone for doing a lot, and you kind of have to say to the person, well, what are you doing? And the same thing, right? Phil has done all these things, and a lot of the people that may be hating is, why can't the platform that I like playing on do something like this or thought of this? So it's a little bit of a hate because, you have the opportunities. You just didn't push the people far enough, or you didn't push yourself to go to meet your customers and meet your install base to do these things. It took somebody else to kind of come in.
early on in his era too. I mean, he had this odds stacked against him. You know, you had those studio closures, you had games like Scalebound getting canceled, and lot of things out of his control, budget wise, and all these things, right? And he has to still put on that face of like, we're gonna be okay, we're gonna get through this. You know, we have more coming, or you know, we're gonna treat the games right. And he always took criticism on, and even when people gave him praise and give him praise, he goes through in a interview and he makes sure he takes blame as well.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a great point. Yep.
He makes sure like to take it on. Well, you know, it wasn't all, you know, peaches and roses or whatever. He always goes through and says, well, like, look, you know, I was part of that team that failed. Right. He says that stuff. He wants to make sure people are aware of that. He's not sitting there on his high horse saying like, yes, praise me, I love it. You know, he's sitting there acknowledging all of the wrongs that have been done, all of the problems that they've had, and also knows what they need to do to move forward and get stuff on track. And it better one of the best gaming executives, like, and I'm just gonna say one of the best business executives I've ever seen. Period. Take what they've had and turn it around into something that's industry changing. That's insane.
Yeah.
And he's done that. So props.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I want to shout out Jay Fonzarelli in the chat. What's going on there, Fonz? Hopefully you are doing well. I've been seeing what you've been doing with your interviews. My inbox is waiting for that invite, my friend. So let's get that done. I want to help you promote your channel. I think what you're doing on RDX is incredibly awesome, and you always keep it 100, and that's what we love about you. And also Dinero Primero. If you don't know who that guy is, well, you should, because he does all of my work for the channel, especially on the intros and outros, and he is currently working on a new super secret project for Breakfast with Boom. That one is going to be probably his biggest, and I can't wait to see what he is up to with that. That's going to be awesome. But let's bring in Mr. Joanna Dark. Obviously, now you obviously work, people may or may not know, you work for Microsoft, obviously, and you enjoy working at the company. When you see the leadership in Phil Spencer get awarded this prestigious award, and again, there's a couple of things running here. Obviously, Todd Howard is going to be presenting, which I think is amazing. It is the 25th annual D.I.C.E Awards, which is huge in itself. And considering what Phil has closed under his leadership since being promoted in 2017 is nothing short of storybook. What are your thoughts on his on this award being given to Phil?
It's well deserved, and I kind of want to bring a quote here. I had to pull up one of the books that I read was called Hit Refresh by Satya, and I think it starts with Satya, and this is what I want to quote. When you hit refresh in your web browser by clicking a little arrow, you're hitting function 5, and you're not wiping everything away or starting new. And sometimes every company has that moment where you have to hit refresh. And Xbox had that moment in the Xbox One era where it got to the point where it was either let's delete it forever or let's hit refresh. And what happened was, with Satya's leadership and being a good leader, and he was able to see who the right person was to pitch him and bring the Xbox platform back. You know, it's a different philosophy from the top down, and we've been talking about leaders. And like I said, I've been there through 2 of the CEOs joining the company. And I can say, as someone who worked their way through retail and not have much engagement with many of the people on the corporate side, that trickled all the way down to the entire organizations. And one of the other things that kind of stand out in this book, and it kind of applies to Phil Spencer, is that Satya said innovation was being, I look at this as innovation was being replaced by bureaucracy, teamwork was being replaced by internal politics, and we were falling behind. So when I look at this, is maybe when the person was there, and we kind of saw in the background with Don Matrick, maybe a lot of that thing was part of the culture that was there at the time. And we started seeing these kind of fights that we kind of heard in rumors. The next is the importance of putting your team first. I think that is the biggest thing. You know, when things go right, I don't think you need to talk your horn, because you're going to get your credit, because guess what? You're the one that's delegating. You're the one that's being the person that's running everything. What you want to do is you want to inspire the rest of your teams. And I think that's the biggest thing. And when things go wrong, yeah, you take the blame for it, because at the end of the day, you're the one that are making those decisions, and you're the ones that are putting the people in place to make those other decisions. And I just think overall, Phil Spencer is what we needed. Someone that came from, as you can say, from somewhere from the bottom, right? Like Drake's song. And he's passionate, and I'm not Phil Spencer, but I can tell you as someone who worked from the bottom of Microsoft, right? As someone who came as a part-time employee and now working at Xbox, you're always hungry and you always want to do more and see how you can impact. And I think that's what Phil Spencer has done. He's brought a vision that we all buy into and we believe in it. And when you believe in a vision of any leader, the sky's the limit on what you can do. And it's just great because I think one of the things that stands out to me prior to us finding out the whole Activision thing was that Phil even said it, Microsoft has a past. We're not perfect. But what we want to do is we want to be able to help people and give them the things that worked for us. And I think that's very important overall when it comes to relationships. We see all these funny things on Twitter where people think it's like it's like a war, right? But at the end of the day, it's Microsoft continuing to build these relationships to understand that, yes, Xbox wants to be number one, but how can we holistically make sure that we keep a healthy gaming industry? How can we continue to partner and push each other? How do we push Nintendo? How do we push Sony? How does Sony push us back? And I think that reward is very well deserved because that's what Phil Spencer overall, with the way he handles his relationships and the way he goes about handling himself, I think that is the premier kind of staple of what a leader is overall and how you should be. Because at the end of the day, you have to also be able to say to yourself, yeah, I'm successful, but can't always get complacent. And I think that's very important. So overall, I think it's well deserved. And it's great that he's getting this award because I think he embodies everything that many of those others before him have embodied when it comes to such an award like this.
I mean, great points by everybody, for sure. Real quick, let me catch up with some of the super chats. Smitty Smith, generous friend of the show, good brother and friend of Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. He says Phil Spencer put in the work. He earned every bit of the praise he gets from intern to head of Xbox. They better put some GD respect on that man's name, the Book of X. So I got it for you here, Smitty. Sir Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer. We have knighted him officially, and he is now a sir. I like that. It has a nice ring to it. It rolls off the tongue. Sir Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer. I like it. I'm going to talk to King. I think we have to change the name. We have to add the sir to it. Brett Bingham, generous friend of the show, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, Microsoft should buy Bandai Namco and get Respawn to build a Titanfall Gundam game. Have that as an exclusive would make ways in both East and West. Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. For sure, but I don't know if they're going to get Respawn to do anything outside of what they're doing for EA. I think they're just inundated with work. They just announced 3 Star Wars games, and hell, I'm probably never getting my Titanfall 3, which is very upsetting, to be honest with you, because damn, Titanfall is one of my favorite IPs. That, along with the Division from last gen. And I don't know if we're going to get a Division 3 for that matter. Not the way things are going over at Ubisoft currently. I don't know. But listen, I want to we have 20 minutes. Well, actually 19 minutes before the end of the show. I don't know how much longer we have, Kay Asante, but Kay, I want to bring you into the conversation quickly at the 142 mark of the show. We are seeing some, big positions opening up at Ninja Theory. Now, obviously, they've been working on Hellblade 2 for quite some time. We got a chance to see it in 2019 when they shocked the world with the in-engine gameplay. Then, of course, they came back last year at the Game Awards and gave us actual gameplay. That was
face melting gameplay.
Face melting gameplay, and that was confirmed because it was, it came up in conversation. Was that really gameplay? And of course, Jeff Keighley actually confirmed that yes, this actually is gameplay, and it looks so good that people questioned it. It was so seamless from the running, from the movie aspect of it to her throwing the spears that people because there's no HUD, it can't be real. Well, people are just dumb. But
they forget that the first one also didn't have a HUD.
It did not have a HUD as well. Listen, if there is one team that I think is going to deliver, Cog, if you're listening, brother, #just1, I think it's Ninja Theory. I think it's this game. I think Hellblade 2 is going to be a banger, as the kids are calling it. I think that there is a lot to get excited about. I mean, I know that a lot of people didn't dig some of the puzzles of the original. which were somewhat frustrating. I got stuck on two that I had to bring in a second pair of eyes. I was like, "Hey, Mrs. Boom, what am I not seeing?" And of course, because she's a genius, she figured it out. With that said, we have new information that they are on a hiring spree, and I actually have those positions that are open, and it makes me wonder, when do we actually see this game? Is it the end of this year as a surprise? Is it first quarter of 23? Is it even holiday 2023? But I have, let me just pull it up right here. Hold on just a sec. They are currently looking for someone for a senior motion capture technician, artist palettes, senior character artist. They're also looking for someone, a senior rigger, and technical artist. Now, the rigger aspect of it, I think, might be in motion caption, because when you think of being rigged to something, that's, again, what do I know? I'm just a podcaster, so I'm not sure.
No, I think you're right on the money there. Yeah.
And I think they're also looking for a senior cinematics animator. These seem to be pretty large positions. Now, I'm not sure how far along. I know Boxenberger is going to have a lot to say because this game has been in development for a while. Now, you have to excuse a year for COVID. That's a reality, especially for Ninja Theory, because they are very up close and personal when it comes to character animations and doing the mocap. That's like their big thing. What are your thoughts on the hiring, and when do you expect the game?
So the question, and I hear what you're saying, but why are we assuming this is for Hellblade 2?
Oh, you know something? I like what you're putting down there. That's pretty interesting.
Haven't they already kind of telegraphed 2 or 3 other games? And we saw their new studios that were open. Microsoft, they had like, and anybody, if you want to check it out, go to their YouTube channel. Like huge studios, so like state of the art,
monster size studios, dude.
Awesome. They're trying to fill those seats. There's a lot of games coming out of here, right? And some the few insiders who we trust, shout out to Jess Gordon and the rest of them. They've already said that there are code names, many code names that they don't have actual projects related to. A lot of these studios are ramping up to do multiple projects, right?
Yeah.
So I hear all this and it excites me, but I suspect, and obviously, as you said, what do we know? We're just outside observers, but I don't think they're looking for anyone to finish Hellblade 2. They have everything and everyone they need to finish that. They're trying to ramp up so they can do multiple projects at once. They're trying to ramp up so
they have Project Mara already in the making.
Right.
Yeah?
Exactly, Boxenberger. Like that's exactly what I think is happening here. And beyond what they've told you is happening, there are things that you don't know that's happening, and all that requires additional work. If they have a rigger already, they are looking for other riggers to do other projects at the same time. So I hear this, and this excites me because this tells me that what they've put forth already has excited Microsoft enough to greenlight multiple projects, and that's where multiple resources come in. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I just pulled up their staff total, and it's a couple of years old. Obviously, we're in 2022. As of 2020, they had 120 people working at the studio, which I believe they've hired at least 25 plus people since.
I'm sure that'll double by the end of this year, because if you see that studio that they showed you, the rooms, the potential like resources they need to staff up to work there, it's not a nicer version of what they had. It is a complex. It is a huge, it is a markedly bigger than anything that you've seen from any studio so far. You know what I mean? Just like that IO one, by the way, just like the one in the one that IO,
the one that they just bought.
That's right.
Maybe Microsoft potentially paid for it. I don't know.
That's why people started looking at them like, "Hey, we see you there, buddy." You know what I'm saying?
I see you. What you're doing
so
there.
Hearing them staff up, it tracks wholeheartedly for me, and I don't think it has anything to do with, oh, let's get more people in to finish any of the games they've announced, because I don't think they would announce a game and then wait for the staff to fill it in order to get that thing fulfilled. Because you announce a game with a potential end date already in mind, right? They don't a code name, it stays a code name for a while until they put a name on it, right? And if they put a name on it and they show you some footage, that tells you that they have already gone further down the rabbit hole. They might need people to fill in some gaps, of course, but I doubt that they would do that and then go, okay, now we're gonna staff up and hope that we get enough people in order to fulfill the roles. Where I come from it with is I suspect it's for projects and code names that you have not heard, right? Because so far, besides Senua, which it's like AA-ish, the first version of it, and the second one, obviously they're ramping up much higher.
Right.
I'm looking for a Heavenly Sword-esque, big, bombastic, amazing game from them, and that's still to come, right? We haven't seen it. Project Mara looks like it's going to be small. Senua is going to be the second one's going to be much bigger than the first one was, but they've always been kind of smaller studio, shooting higher, hitting above their weight mainly, right? Yeah. And it seems to me, with more as the confidence grows within Microsoft to give them those resources, they are becoming the coalition size that they need to be in order to fulfill those many roles. So this just tells me that the future is bright. I suspect there may come a time in the E3 timeframe. We call it timeframe because E3 no longer exists. Rest in peace, E3. But there may come a time frame where the company comes out, Microsoft or Microsoft Gaming comes out and says, "Hey, here are our offerings," and you'll see another game from them. Something you'd never heard of before, and that's where these specific roles come into place.
Very interesting and great point. Thanks so much. Hey, Kay, listen, you can hang around if you want, brother, but if you got to bounce, let me know.
Yeah, I think it's about time for me to bounce.
Yes.
But I love the conversation. Thank you guys so much for letting me hop in here and get my ones and twos off. I'm going back to my work. I'll be listening in, and I'm also playing some Sifu. Oh Lord, we'll talk about that one later.
Yeah,
see you guys later.
Great to see you, Kay Sante.
Later,
Take
guys.
care, brother. Thanks for jumping in. Pong, so let's get your opinion on this, Pong. Yep. Ninja Theory. I just went to LinkedIn, and I follow Ninja Theory, not because I'm going to work there, because I ain't got a talent like that, but I follow them. As of today, it says here that they have 133 employees on LinkedIn. Now, is that total? I don't know, but they have 133 employees that are on LinkedIn that work at Ninja Theory. So just give people the update on that. Kay brings up a great point, man. Like I'm like, wow, could they be hiring for Senua's saga? But it turns out that he actually brings up a great point. No, this is probably for something new, especially in some of the positions that we said. But I kind of want to bring this back around. When do you personally expect a Hellblade 2 to release?
Well, I still stand firm on what I originally said. I think you can go all the way back when we first started talking about Hellblade 2, is that it's going to be at the earliest holiday 2023. I'm still thinking 2024. They're going to let this thing cook for as long as necessary. And I know people don't want to hear that, but I think, again, from where Ninja Theory has been to now, and because of the focus on the quality aspect that Microsoft and Xbox are now trying to say, hey, we understand we need to make sure that our quality is up to par. And I think with a game like Hellblade 2, you want to give this team as much time as possible. And with the pandemic and everything that has happened, setting them back, I think they're going to give them extra time if needed. Again, if the game's ready, the game's ready. But I think they're going to give this team all the time they need to make sure that this game comes out as that, oh my God, wow factor game, right? That really current gen game that we all expect. And obviously comments came out today from one of the people over at Ninja Theory, forget his name, stating that they expect Hellblade 2 to make Hellblade 1 look like an indie title.
Yeah, that's
now,
Tamim Antoniadis.
Yeah, thank you. I knew somebody here.
I know you will be joining us on the World of Gaming on Thursday, and it's going to be a big topic.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I can't wait. So those are big, bold statements, and sometimes you kind of at first you're like, oh, cool, and then you're kind of like, ooh, should he really have said that? Like that's a big statement. But again, this is a studio that wants to be considered, and all studios do, but I think Ninja Theory is really on a mission to be considered one of the greatest studios in the world, right? And so I think they're really going to make sure that Hellblade 2 is that stamp, right?
I've said it from the beginning. Ninja
Yeah.
Theory is going to be Microsoft's Naughty Dog.
So have I.
Great
So have I.
point, dude.
We're
I've said that
great
all
minds
along.
think alike,
Yeah.
Boxenberger.
Yeah.
I've said that here before.
Pong.
Yeah.
In that interview, you know, if you look at Psychonauts, right? When
Yep.
Tim Schafer finally got the extra money to put in those bosses, look at what Ninja Theory has been, you know, working with, and look at the amazing games they made. So now, again, they have the backing of Microsoft. They're getting the talent they need, and they're going to make an experience that is more believable and just more ambitious than what they could do before.
Yeah, that next level, right? That's again, we talk about that all the time. These studios, I love seeing these studios that have been toiling away in this industry and have, for the most part, stuck together and are each iteration, each game, each IP that they come out with is that next step up. And I think Hellblade 2 is really, like, we already think that Ninja Theory is fantastic. You know, so many people, Hellblade 1 got critical acclaim. So many people love that game, but I think that this Hellblade 2 is going to be that next level where we go, yep, no doubt about it. Like Boxenberger just said, and like I've said before too, I do believe that Ninja Theory has that in them to become Microsoft Xbox's Naughty Dog, where every game, even if it takes a little longer to come out than some other games, you know, when it comes out, you're getting some of the best storytelling, some of the best action, all of it rolled into one game. And I think that that's really where they're headed. And Hellblade 2 is going to be allotted that time to make it that special. And so that's why I'm still on the train, earliest holiday 2023, but I expect 2024, spring 2024 would be great. I think that'd be a perfect spot for a game like that. Love to see it come out then. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, hiring, as far as the hiring goes, okay, it's not, they made a great point. If they are planning on expanding, I don't know how much they want to expand. They may want to stay a smaller team and make sure that everybody that they bring in is of the right build for their team specifically. They don't want to just grow just to grow. They really want to focus on making sure that everybody fits, everybody has a role, everybody is on the same page philosophy wise with that structure in Ninja Theory. And so they might just be adding people as they go. But who knows? They probably do have other projects in mind. You know, Project Mara is sitting there. We heard that Project Mara is going to be a smaller type project, a smaller IP, kind of a testing ground for some of their new tech. Maybe they're pushing that right now too. Maybe they're bringing some people to fill in for that as well. So can't wait to see what they bring though. I'm super excited for Ninja Theory, and all of this is just nothing but good stuff for us gamers. That's for sure. All good news.
Yeah, Boxenberger, let's grab your opinion on this. You know, they are hiring. Maybe they're making a spiritual or even a sequel to Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, which if you missed out on that, that game was so
that was so good.
Awesome.
So good.
Stop teaching us.
That came out in 2010. That game is a decade and 2 years old, 12 years old. I can't believe it came out in 2010. I mean, what are your thoughts on first of all, when do you think we get Hellblade 2? But I'm hoping 2024 is wrong. Pong, I want you to be wrong, brother, because that's too long to wait for this game. How long do because you've talked about this before, how long have they been working on, supposedly working on Hellblade 2?
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, they talked about them taking a little break after the first one came out. That they didn't start right away with the development of the successor. But the thing is, I think people overestimate the kind of breaks they are talking about. They are not talking about we took 3 years off and just pay our entire staff for doing nothing. Yeah, so we're talking here about a couple of months, few months, 1, 2, 3 months of a break, and then of course staff has to return. So when we look at this, the game was released in August 2017. Of course, then there was a lot of work then to be done to bring the game to PC, to Xbox a year later. But still, somewhere around that time, end of 2017, beginning of 2018, that's when we assume that they started to start the development of the project. Of course, a lot of that was early. Was pre-production. They had to find the idea, what do they aim for? What's the game going to be? What's the setting? What's the story gonna look like? All these pre-production kind of things. Last year in summer, they came out and said that this game is now going into full production. They are working out a certain part of the game as a vertical slice and then go out and produce the game from there. And a lot of people look to Todd Howard as one of the masterminds in game design. He just recently spoke about that it's actually only about 1 to 2 years when a game goes into full production until it comes out, because that's when you put the real bulk of developers on it. Yeah, you get all the voice actors on board, the play testers, the people who make the all the assets, the textures and whatnot. So that's only a certain part. The big part of development is always the pre-production kind of phase where you get the scope right for the game, get the idea right, and so on. So where is Hellblade right now? Tamim said in summer last year that they worked or start to work that game out from that vertical slice in full production. We know that in the UK they have 0 restrictions right now for COVID, so that's basically going back to normal work for them. I think it's a 23 game. To be honest, it's that would have given them something like 5+ years to make that game, and even factoring in COVID, that is a long time. Especially considering the size of the team, it is still for AAA titles a super small team. Yeah, they talked about them having something like around 50 people, double the size of the original Hellblade team working on Hellblade 2, which is really still small. Nevertheless, the game is going to be huge. They also said that they have a very big ambition. So yeah, it is kind of hard to speculate, but given the time that they have all been already working on this, and the fact that in the end we always say, yeah, Microsoft needs to give them the time they need. In the end, each and every game still has to be a business case. Yeah, you can't develop a game for 15 years and still make money off of it. So yeah, my guess would be 23.
Yeah, strong point. Mav, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Ninja Blade? Ninja Blade, holy cow, that was actually quite a good game. Ninja
Yeah, it was.
Theory, and when Hellblade 2 is going to release, because Pong, and he might be onto something with 2024, but I'm kind of thinking maybe first quarter 23, because if they have the remainder of the year, mind you, we're only in February, right? And people seem to be getting back to work, and there are some restrictions, though. But I think work is moving along, especially when you bring in the motion capture that they're known for. And obviously, this is going to be a game that's going to be much bigger than the original. Are you thinking maybe early 23, or are you on board with Pong late 24, potentially early 24?
I think either late 2023 or early 2024 would be my guess. I think it's a really big game, and I think they would be targeting holiday 2023, with the potential that it would be pushed back into first quarter 2024. So we'll see. I mean, I think we'll have more information on that, like either later this year or early next year. This is going to be a massive, impressive game.
Yeah.
I mean, the article, with the interviews, he said something like, this is going to make Hellblade look like an indie game, right? Which, I mean, it technically was an indie game, but it didn't really look like an indie game, right?
Nope.
So they're going for like a bigger production with the resources of Microsoft and everything behind them. And just like you said, they're growing, they're hiring, like every studio that they've acquired is as well. So it kind of goes to show, like, from an Xbox and Microsoft perspective, like how they're handling these studio acquisitions, right? All of them that have come on have been saying the same thing. Hey, they just kind of stay out of it. Now we don't have to worry about money, and we're getting to create the games that we've always wanted to make.
Yeah.
And that's
organic growth, man.
Organic growth. There's that word
think
again.
That's why it's. I mean, maybe people are like, "Oh, well, but it's taking so long." Well, some great games take a long time to make sometimes, or especially
Indeed
if
they
you're
do.
this
Yeah.
ambitious, right? And that goes to show, like, maybe if Xbox didn't acquire them, maybe they would have to force out something quicker that wouldn't be as big of a project, right? And maybe their next game would have been sooner, but it maybe wouldn't be as good as what we're going to get with Hellblade 2, right? So I'm super, like, I read through that article today, and when it was shared to us in the DM, so it was a super great interview, and I think that Hellblade is going to be something special. I think Ninja Theory, like you guys said, Naughty Dog. I think it's going to be one of the surprises out of all this thing. Like Mr. Moriarty said, why'd they even acquire a studio like Ninja Theory? What does that do? Well, it does a lot.
Yeah,
I
that
think they're
was a
gonna prove a
knucklehead
lot of
statement,
people
but
wrong.
we won't jump on that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna prove a lot of people wrong over time about, like, what kind of studio they are. I mean, it just goes to show the leadership there really has big aspirations, right? They really have huge aspirations on what they want to achieve. I mean, it's gonna be special, but yeah, 2023 late, 2024 early, somewhere around there. If I had to put money on it, November to February, in that time period.
Yeah, the strong point. Mr. Joanna Dark, why don't you close us out of today's banging new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast? What are your thoughts on Ninja Theory releasing Hellblade 2 in potentially holiday 2023, which would be pretty epic?
It's possible. I think I'm going to go with 2024. I don't know.
Okay.
Something about me, I think that game. And the reason I'm going that is that I think that Ninja Theory is, I think, in full kind of creative mode, and they want to make this game such an experience that it just blows your socks off.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like that moment like Gorilla and Naughty Dog had, where you're like, oh wait, you used to make Killzone, but not, oh my god, look at Horizon. Naughty Dog used to make Crash Bandicoot, but now you gave us The Last of Us, you gave us Uncharted. And I think they've taken that task, that kind of responsibility to kind of give that experience. And in the sense of hiring, I guess they want to grow to make sure that they have enough, I guess, talent to make sure that they can meet those expectations to set themselves for Ninja, for Hellblade, but also for those small projects, and they can continue. And kind of like a lot of big teams, right? You had at Naughty Dog, you had a team that worked on Uncharted. You had another team that kind of broke off and did Last of Us. So you kind of have that flexibility to kind of stay agile and nimble and make these smaller games and kind of let those creative juice flow, kind of like, like God Howard said, where they're making all these games, and that Starfield was right after all those ideas and kind of getting back and made them hungry. And I think that, the things that I saw from that trailer from Hellblade was like, wow, like I can't wait to boot that game up. And, it just seems like something that's going to give me an experience that I haven't on a different level. The first one gave me the immersion. I played it in VR. The fact that I can put my headphones off and I started hearing voices and all these things, and just the level of the story and how everything went, it was something that I didn't experience, and I couldn't believe that 20 people made that game. So I really think that Hellblade 2 is going to be special, and I think the next time we see it, you thought we got our socks blown off this time. It's just going to be one of those moments where we're like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, listen, folks, what a great show. We had breaking news with the Scalebound. We got a chance to talk about Phil, Dominus, Maximus, Aurelius Spencer, or should I say Sir Phil? And of course, we threw in the Ninja Blade. Keep doing that. Ninja Theory, Hellblade 2 topic for the for the end of it. First of all, we had almost 400 people here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and obviously, please hit the like button on your way out. And share this on social media. Let people know that there is an Xbox show that doesn't use hate to sell its wares, that we actually enjoy the brand and we have fun talking about it. Let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Pong Soul, brother. Sell your brand. Tell everyone about where you're going to be at this week, what you got going on, and of course, more importantly, talk about your Saturday show with Steel Rain, which this week not only was long, and I'm halfway through it. I got halfway through, Pong. It was a bit of a lengthy one. I got some more cleaning to do tomorrow, so I'm probably going to finish that off. But a great conversation all around. Talk about it.
Yeah, we appreciate anybody who drops in there. Boom. Even if you don't listen to the whole thing, yeah, we had 4+ hours. So yeah, it was a big one. But that's kind of normal for us. Anyways, yeah, no, this was a great show, gentlemen. Great topics. Obviously, love the audibles when they happen. Boom. And that was a great conversation about Scalebound. Whether people want to talk about it or not, it's something to talk about, and it is something that's
Well, it's relevant.
It's relevant. It's intriguing to say the least, right? So that was a great conversation, but it was great to be back here, brothers. Thank you all for the awesome conversation. Chat, always amazing, even when there's disagreements. 99% of the time in Boom's chat, it is respectful, and it's just good talk, and that's what it's all about. We don't always have to agree on things. And it's just great to have conversation and run through all the different kind of perspectives. So I saw a lot of great talk in there. Thank you all for coming out and supporting as always. Pong Soul Xbox, Pong Soul on Twitter. Follow me. I will follow you back. Otherwise, coming this week, this is a big week. I've got something recording on Wednesday night. I don't know if he's announced it yet, so I'm going to go ahead and let him do that. And I don't know for sure when it's going to air, if it's going to be live or not. But Wednesday night, I'm doing something, so keep your eye out for that. Obviously, I'll be tweeting about that. Thursday is a big day because I am, as Boxenberger said, joining him on his new show. What time is that at Boxenberger? Is it 2 p.m. Central Time?
It's 2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Central Time. I will be joining Boxenberger. So please come over and see. Yep. Obviously, it's a great thing that Archimedes is joining the podcast world. He's on camera now. He's showing off his beautiful face. And now we've got a show, a weekly podcast. So that's going to be a blast. So join me there. And then Thursday night, of course, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM over on Fun Speculations channel. Join us there. We're going to probably have a lot to talk about. We always have 1, 2, 3 topics, and that will be 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, and then back on Fun Speculations channel for Xbox Ultimate, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. The Great 8, give or take 1 or 2, depending on who can show up and who can't. But Mav always has great guests as well. So join us. Again, it's just a fun time. We never know where we're going to go, what we're going to talk about. But Xbox Ultimate, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, Friday night, Saturday mornings, living split screen. That's right. We're going to take up your morning and maybe even part of your afternoon. So come join me and my brother from another Steel Rain, live, raw, and uncut, as he says. We had 4+ hours last week. Guarantee it's going to be 3+ hours with him and I. So come see us. Set your alarms early. Living split screen, 10 a.m. Eastern. 9 o'clock Central Time. We are on mission 1K for this year. Yep. We are approaching 500 right now. So we definitely like to see some new faces. Bring a friend on over. Take a listen if you like what you hear and subscribe. But the Living Split Screen Saturday morning, Saturday night, of course, the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel. Join us. It is a great, great show. We just had Delilah HD on last weekend. Just awesome. We always have great topics there, and it's a great.
She's great, man. She
is fantastic.
Good
we had
people.
Some really good conversation there because she brings a different perspective as well. So, Shop Podcast, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, I'll be back here next week, next Tuesday, God willing and real life willing. So, Otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming, people. This is so freaking exciting to talk about. I just love this industry where we're going and all these great podcasts I'm on, my extended families. Please enjoy it. Play what you love what you play. I'm going to talk to you all real soon.
Thank you, brother. And you are the hardest working man in podcasting because, man, you put me to shame. Holy moly. Boxenberger, but by all means, brother, sell your brand. Tell them about the video you dropped yesterday. Where could people subscribe? And you're close to 5K, ladies and gentlemen. And let's help him get over that hump. 5K is a big deal, and he is within arm's reach. Talk about it, Boxenberger.
Yeah, I only need 40 more subs and I hit the 5K. So that's hopefully going to happen.
There's still
soon.
230 people here. There's got to be somebody that's not subscribed. Get over there and subscribe to his channel. Let's help him get that 5K.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, people can find the channel basically everywhere on the Boxenberger, on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, and of course here on YouTube. Like you said, I just dropped the video yesterday talking about all these hidden secret projects that the Xbox publishing arm is working on. Yeah, some of those we know, like Project Dragon, Project Belfry, and so on. Some others are probably not that well known, and I try to gather all the info in one convenient video. Definitely check that out. Otherwise, this Thursday, like Pong said, I have my own podcast, The World of Gaming, which has usually a smaller panel, so that we can cover wide range of topics. And this week Pong is going to join me. That's airing 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. PT. That's 7 p.m. UK time and 8 p.m. Central Europe. So I hope to see you there, and otherwise I'll be back here next week.
Nice. And Mav, sell your brand, brother. You guys are growing at an incredible rate, and well, for good reason. You put great content out, and you put a lot of it. Talk about your brand. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's a fun show today. Boom. Guys, check it out on Twitter, Fun Speculation, YouTube, Fun Speculation, where Pong broke down a few of the shows that we got going on over there. But next up is on Wednesday. That's tomorrow for Fun Pop. We do movies, TV shows, games. We talk a lot about anything that has to do with like Marvel, DC, Star Wars, all that kind of fun stuff. Then on Thursday, PM in the PM, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we have a special guest this week, Boom.
Who is that?
That's you, sir.
Oh, that's right. That's
Just gonna let Mav do the honors there.
I figured I would let you talk about it. Yes, this Thursday evening I will be on PM in the PM, and you can add I'm the M in there, the boom.
Yeah.
P in the B in the B.
PBM. It's starting to sound like a sandwich.
It certainly does.
Bullets per minute, BPM.
Yeah. PBM this week. Yeah, no, PM in the PM at 7 p.m. Eastern, guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun because Pong and I are gonna sit down with the one and only Mr. BoomStick for a great show. We'll have some fun deep dives on some amazing topics there, and then also Friday night is Xbox Ultimate, where we have a lot of fun. It goes crazy sometimes on that show, but it's okay. And then Saturday is FSP Fun Speculation Podcast. That one also is at 7 p.m. Eastern. So come check it out. I just dropped that video. It finally got out of upload hell, and it finished. So it's up. Talking about this.
Definitely go check it out.
Scalebound thing. So check that video out, guys. It just dropped. Other than that, man, yeah, I appreciate you always having me on, Boom. And guys, this was a lot of fun today. So.
Absolutely. And looking forward to Thursday, brother. Thank you so much for the invite. And last and no way least, Mr. Joanna Dark, brother, please, by all means, talk about what other shows you're on. Where can people reach out to you on social media? And, of course, strike up a conversation.
Yeah, like always, it was great to have the panel back. Missed you guys. So it's always good to kind of just have the whole crew together. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter under big_N_boss. And then tomorrow we have episode 5 of the Xbox International podcast on the Crazy Lou Gaming channel, because I know he's going to kill me if I don't say it. And we actually have our very first guest, which is going to be Delilah HD. So I'm very excited to sit down and hang out and just kind of, talk about the news, talk about the, strike up some good conversations. Then on Thursdays, I return after a 2-week hiatus to the Nickel Gaming Show on Thursday with Albert and Jasmine. And like always, I'm here on the Xbox Factor podcast, and it's always fun. I like starting my Tuesdays. I look forward to it because, I'm going to talk with some amazing individuals that know a lot, and I learn a lot. And if you haven't checked Boxing Burger's last video, please go check it out. It was really amazing. And let's get Boxing Burger to 5K.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that, brother. And of course, thank you everyone for tuning in to the new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Thank you for the super chats that came in today. They were really a lot of them, and I'm really grateful that you continue to support Double Barrel Gaming. Of course, if you want to take your support further, you can join in channel memberships. You can go right to the channel, sit and hit join. There are 2 tiers only. It's a $5 and a $10, and you'll get some cool emojis as well that you can drop into the chat while you're listening live. Of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day, folks, will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And I think now more than ever, it's super relevant and important. He said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.